Well, joining me now, somebody that a year ago, if I had to guess, I would have said, well, hopefully she'll be joining me on NXT pre-shows, and has instead gone ahead and set the wrestling world on fire once more. Ladies and gentlemen, Mickie James. What's going on, Mickie?
Oh, not much. Thanks, Sam. I had so much fun commentating with you and all the pre-show stuff and everything that we did. That was so fun.
It was fun, but I would imagine that you're having even more fun now.
I'm having a blast.
I
Time
thought.
alone.
I
Yes,
mean, there's a big gold belt behind you, so that's
there
pretty fun.
is. Well, it's silver, but and gold in my heart.
Yeah, I thought like symbolically gold
For sure.
for all
For
intents
sure.
and purposes, right? Like,
Well, they weigh about the same. You know?
yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a wild time for you. Obviously, you get the whole world talking about your presence upcoming in the Royal Rumble. But I'll tell you what I thought was the trippiest part of all. It was to go from obviously the announcement on SmackDown with you being announced as the Impact Knockouts champion. Like, I feel like that was the biggest deal of all. But then I turn on Hard to Kill and you and Deanna main event, and it's fantastic and it's great. And then the sell at the end of the show is Tom Hannafin, the former Tom Phillips, selling too. And now she's going to go to the Royal Rumble match. And I'm like, what am I watching? What a wild time.
What a parallel universe that we like. It's crazy. The metaverse is what
Yeah.
that's what the kids say. I don't know. I just learned that word like 2 weeks ago. No, it's crazy. It's insane, and it's really cool that we've been able to make this happen. And I'm honored to have been asked to come back, but also to represent Impact Wrestling and kick down this ceiling door, whatever we want to call it, to do something pretty monumental, and that it's just crazy what a year can do.
Yeah. I mean, to go from, I don't know. And I mean, I would imagine that when you're gone from WWE, you were in a pretty unique situation because you, more than just about anybody else, would have been aware of what the wrestling world looked like outside of WWE. I mean, when you've got the former NWA World's Champion in your house, you know what I mean? Like the home business, you're aware that, like, okay, this isn't the end all be all. There's more in wrestling out there that's going on right now. Were you ready to kind of hit the ground running because of that, or were you still a little like, where do I fit in this current landscape?
Yes and no. I think a little column A, column B. I think I wasn't worried about, oh no, like, what am I going to do now? Like, I feel that I will always have a place within wrestling, whatever that capacity is. Like, I love the business, and I've pretty much dedicated, over half my life to it, and to get where I'm at. I learned that lesson the first time, that there is life after WWE. And I know it doesn't seem that way, but there's so many different ways, especially now more than ever, to create your own value and to be your own boss and to kind of make your own rules. And for me, I'm like, this is a great, especially where I'm sitting, for the length of time that I've been in the business, and what I see, or how I want to continue to contribute. It's like, it's just a really powerful place for me to be sitting in too. So it's cool. It's cool.
Did you know? I mean, obviously, on some level, you had to know you wanted to get involved in the behind the scenes side of it and putting on shows and bringing, the women's show to the NWA and everything. But did you also know, like, look, I'm also really not done in the ring. I think I've got a lot more to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, when you talk about when we were working together, even at NXT, I loved that stuff. I enjoyed it so much, but I felt like I still just wanted to go out kind of my way and not just I had like one good, really killer storyline or run or something in that capacity. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
What is that?
Do you know the
There's a voice.
That was Val
Oh.
on the Voxer app that was wide open. I apologize.
No.
We still use that app. Are you aware of that app?
I don't think so.
It's like a walkie-talkie. It was pre-WhatsApp.
But it's like, is it like the Nextel, like the boop boop, like the
and you can walkie-talkie back and forth to each other all day long. Half my life is spent on Voxer, and I love it. Anyway, what I was saying was when we were talking is that I felt like I was already kind of feeling that out and dabbing my feet in those waters. And I think it was definitely a conversation of like, that is the next step, right? Is to go to work behind the scenes, because that's just a whole new avenue to contribute in a different way and to help the future and all the things. But I think that I was still like, yeah, but I just want to go out, like, bow out.
Yes.
In a badass way,
Yeah.
And and I just didn't think I was going to be able to have a chance to do that there. And I've been able to come and kick ass at Impact and reclaim the Knockouts Championship for the 4th time. Knockouts
Man.
World Championship. I know. It's cool.
It's amazing, especially with the way, like, as much as wrestling has changed in the amount of time that you've been around, and like maintaining relevancy for a moment is difficult. Finding your spot throughout the changes in the industry is amazing. Although I wasn't surprised that you wanted to get back in the ring, because I will tell you, there was a moment, and it was around that NXT time, where I knew that you weren't ready to kind of be in that position yet, because I referred to you in conversation, not on the air or anything, as being a legend. And you kind of had an eye roll, not in a negative way, but just in a like, I mean, I appreciate what my vibe was. You appreciated the compliment, but that kind of has a connotation of I've accomplished what I was here to accomplish, and I haven't done quite all that yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because it is a compliment, and you never want to be ungrateful. I'm always grateful. But at the same time, I feel like when people refer to you as a legend, then they feel like, okay, your time in that spotlight
Yes.
done, and it's time for the new generation, when I still have all these goals, because you have to constantly keep raising the bar for yourself, and I think that there's so many different ways to contribute and to give back into the business. And I feel like it's, I felt like I wasn't even halfway, I wasn't done yet, and I had more, more to do and more to give. So yeah.
Were there specific people that you wanted to have matches with right away? Like, like when your head starts spinning, you're like, okay, first, let me get my feet on the ground and figure out what just happened. But now that I'm there, who's out there on the scene that I can have matches now with that I want to?
Yeah, I kind of thought about that, but I feel like my first, initial thing, thing that I wanted to do was empower and to be able to produce this all women show. I wanted to, because in my mind, I felt like I was a lot of my conversation, even when I was like working behind the scenes or trying that on, is something that I really thought like could be something cool. And so I felt like that was really important to me, and to just test myself and see if it was going to be successful or not. And it was, and that was awesome. And so that was where a lot of my focus and my attention immediately went. And then just kind of I'm like, you do think about, because there's such a vast amount of talent out there everywhere, and all the female rosters are thick, and with some really incredible talent. And I felt like I had a new opportunity that I, again, didn't get a chance to completely do at WWE and work with everybody that I wanted to work with. But now I had a chance to kind of go out and make a whole new mark for myself, and hopefully a whole different audience that perhaps wasn't watching me on the WWE product, or they didn't know this other version of Mickie James,
Right. Totally. Right. And I mean, the way like fan cycles in wrestling keep going and going, it's like you absolutely, I mean, as much as you would have to remind people after this WWE run that there was an Impact run before it, let alone everything, that came even before that.
Sure.
Did you know Impact was a spot you wanted to be in pretty quick? Like after the Empower show, were you like, yeah, no, Impact is where I want to perform again?
Well, I'm in a really beautiful spot, because I'm doing Impact, and I'm still working with NWA, and they're like, there's this beautiful relationship between them. So I can really help the women's division over there at NWA, and still, do things along that side, whether it's Empower 2 or whatever it might be, but also to represent Impact as the Knockouts World Champion, and to be kind of the female face of the company, and to go back and have the story of these two worlds and these two women from different, generations of what is women's wrestling, kind of go at it. It was cool, and we got to do some awesome stuff like the fight scene at the barn, and like different ways to present the women and wrestling, so and that's what I was saying, like that creative kind of outlet to really be able to mold and tell the story in a different way, because I'm always about the story and the emotion and all those things to
Yeah.
make you care one way or the other, whether you love it or you hate it, something.
Which, and I mean, you were able to experience that pretty early on in your career, though. It's like, I mean, that first WWE run with Trish, I think just as many people remember specific matches as remember the story and the story
Right.
arc and the moments from it. And I think that is something that's so important. Like, I think in wrestling, moves, like you'll remember the moves and the matches that night and maybe the next night, but like years down the road, it's going to be the stories and the moments.
Right.
Like for you and Deanna, I feel like the even bigger thing was what brought us to the point where we're watching two women in a Texas death match main event a pay-per-view. Like that story becomes what it's about.
Yeah, for sure. And I felt like, we knew that match was going to be the main event, especially with the women doing the Ultimate X match to open the show. So it was a powerful night for the girls already. And that was a really cool spot. And I thought it was really progressive of Impact, because they didn't want to just promote it as, oh, we're going to put the girls on the main just to like pop the fans, because they wanted to, say like, the women got this spot because they deserve this spot. They are the main event, because the amount of this, stuff we had put to get there to that point. And it was a Texas death match, and it was the first time the Knockouts Women's, World Championship had ever been on the line as the main event. And so and I know that's pretty historic for us, and I know women have main evented shows and all these things, but it just shows that, wherever you are, the women are doing really, really powerful things, and it's cool to see. And when I first got in the business, if you would have told me that the women would be the main event, or that they would be doing these types of matches, I would have said you're insane, but the business is always ever evolving, like you said, and changing, and you kind of have to go with the flow and kind of try to keep up with it, and also evolve yourself and stay true to yourself as far as where you fit in that realm.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting too, because like you talk about, being in WWE and realizing like, oh, maybe they think that it's time for me to transition into this new place in my career, but I'm not really ready to do that. And I don't know if you did. I feel like it's easy for a person to start feeling like, oh, I don't know if my value is recognized like
Yeah.
as much as I thought. But what I think is so interesting is that you leave, and if there was ever a thing that could cement the fact that like, look, that timing is timing and business is business, but when it comes to your value, like I was saying to somebody that I think there's no doubt in my mind that the WWE did not say we want the Impact Knockouts champion to be in the Royal Rumble this year. I said Mickie's not in the Rumble because she's the champion. The champion is in the Rumble because she's Mickie. And it's like the WWE, I almost feel like went and did something that they have never done before, because you have such a value as a person to come back for the Royal Rumble. I mean,
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
That's how I took
They
it.
certainly, I'm sure that they certainly didn't seek out the Impact, world's champion, the Knockouts champion. I don't think they called me, because it's me,
Yeah.
And I think, given everything, I'm grateful for that opportunity, and for an opportunity to do something that's never been done before.
Yeah.
And not just to do it for the women, but for all of wrestling, because it really opens the doors to so many potential things, and the idea of dream matches, and the idea of champions versus champions, and things that you would have never thought possible before. But also, it's just, I'm really excited, and I want to represent Impact, and I want to represent myself. And don't get me wrong, I always was open to, and I always still want to move behind the scenes, and I'm still constantly learning and evolving. But I also, wanted to do something awesome, and I'm having a chance to do it now. And I think to be asked to even come back for the Rumble is a really unique thing, and I wasn't going to say no, because I felt like a lot of people, when they, especially in the last year, because on the ladder, when I left, that whole incident, I felt like that took precedent over my whole career. And it started to put like this little
Mm.
asterisk beside my name of like, oh yeah, it was that thing. And so here's all this magic, like you say, like with Trish and with Lita and with Melina and with Beth that I had done. And it was almost overshadowed by this little dark cloud. And I just didn't want that to be the final thing, like that, as powerful as it was and the change that it made, awesome. But at the same time, that really stunk because it was the first thing that people would bring up, and like, oh yeah, sorry they did. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry they did it too. And they are sorry, but I just was trying to move past it. And I felt like it was still this like little lingering thing. And so now this could be the last thing or whatever that is, and
Or at least like in this moment, this is the thing, right? Like
the
this
thing.
is, yeah, when it comes to Mickie and WWE, what's the last thing? Well, it's the fact that she showed up to the Royal Rumble and had another company's title with her the whole time. Which, by the way, like the irony is not lost on me on that either. I think it's so funny that like it wasn't that long ago. Like I was watching, you were watching when like WWE and WCW were doing everything they could to make sure that their champion didn't show up on the other company's TV, and it was like this huge
Right.
deal. And now, I mean, talk about evolution of wrestling.
It's wild.
Not all, it's like it's the complete opposite. It's like such a positive thing, the idea that this could happen.
Right. Yeah, no, it's really crazy and cool and
Yeah. Yeah.
different and I know when I show up and win the Royal Rumble.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
That's obviously what I meant. And the fact that like, look, this Royal Rumble stuff is all great to talk about, but the real story is going to be when it's the WWE Women's Champion versus the Impact Knockouts Champion at WrestleMania. That's going to be huge.
That is money.
Yeah. Yeah. So
No.
where were you when or what was that situation like when the call came in that this was even a possibility?
Well, Scott Demore called me first
Mhm.
because I guess Johnny had reached out to him because it's company in a company and they wanted to go through the proper channels. So, and just to kind of gauge me on how I felt about it. And, it was one of those things because I was like, God, you pray for these things that are just like some closure or whatever the kind of bit is. And it was just kind of how it presented itself. And I was like, I think that there's a potential to do something like this is unheard of. And, I think there's potential to do something really incredible here. And if it works out, awesome. And hopefully it's something cool for everybody. And it just seemed to work out. Thank God.
That's
It's
amazing.
really,
And
really
thank
cool.
God too that Impact is like a cooperative company. I mean, I'm sure you've
Yeah.
worked for companies that you're like sitting there going, this is going to be good for you. And they're like, no, we can't do this. We can't. And you're like, an
Yeah.
opportunity is lost. That
Well, I
happens in
think that
wrestling.
they've worked together in the past, and I feel like Johnny and Scott have a good working relationship. And I have always had a great relationship with Johnny personally. I mean, he hired me, way back when it was like that weird, like him and JR and Dr. Tom. When I first had my first run there, when I just got signed to OVW, and even, as he was going back in, I mean, I love Johnny. I really appreciate him because we've always been honest with one another and just, so I think that for him to be able to then call me after and ask me back, I think it was like a real feel good moment for both of us as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's small circles, Sam, it's all the same people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure, again, that's something you probably learned from the beginning. Like
Right.
you can't be a schmuck to people because,
Don't be a schmuck.
like everybody's staying.
Right.
Wrestling is not like an industry where people just dip in and dip out. You're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'll see you again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when they announced you on not only on SmackDown specifically as the Impact Knockouts champion, but also tweeted out Impact Knockouts World Champion Mickie James is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Like that's a very direct, big deal thing to do. Did you know that was going to happen? That you're going to be introduced as champion and everything?
Yes, and it was something that I had asked for, but you never know if it's going. We'll see. It's like one of those things of, and yeah, I was waiting, and I was hoping that it would get a good reaction because I felt like, oh, this is something unique and different and pretty powerful, and it kind of blew up a little bit, and
yeah,
I'm grateful for that. Yeah, because you always hope for that type of reaction or be able to like it just kind of solidifies like your career, or that people care, or that they're, invested in one way or another. And yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than when you think something is a big deal, like in your head, you're like, oh, this is huge. And then it happens and it's like a pin drop, like nobody cares. And you're like,
you're like,
what?
Oh,
what happened?
You didn't like my last single? Wow.
So I don't know if conversations have been had or would have to be had, but are you, as of today, planning on going into the Rumble with the title on? Like, are you going to carry the title onto the pay-per-view, the physical?
1000%. I mean, unless for some unforeseen reason it gets stolen or something. I feel I am the Knockouts World Champion, and that is who I am. I just had a kick-ass main event match with Deanna, and I feel like that's who I am, Hardcore Country, and that's what I'm representing. So that's who I want to be walking in. That's the confidence that I have now. And if that's anything that I've learned in this last year, is that I think I forgot and lost that bit of confidence in who I was, and started to second guess myself and second guess my decisions. And I don't do that anymore. And that's a real awesome place to sit. So if I have anything to do about it, Hardcore Country's coming.
Straight up. Yeah, I think
Straight up.
And I think that is the way to do it. It's like, for God's sake, you just won a Texas death match to keep your title. If you're not proud of that, I don't know what you like. Why have a Texas death match if you're not going to carry that thing around? Right.
And I have a low center of gravity, so it's not so easy to get me over the top rope,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I kind of teeter.
So, have you thought about what it's going to be like at all? Like, or is it one of those things where you're just figuring out what's in front of you at the moment and you'll get there when you get there?
Yeah. I think there's a potential of anything can happen always, I'm going in with a very open mind and just excited and with a positive kind of attitude, because I really want it to be amazing and amazing for everybody. Because I really feel like it's a win-win situation for everyone, no matter what happens. So yeah.
Yeah. Is it one of those things where you're looking forward to seeing people again, like getting back there and seeing people? Yeah, especially like I'm like, oh, all my friends who've already been announced, and like just like the different generations kind of colliding. But also I'm interested to see who the surprises are. And like the Rumble is always one of my favorite pay-per-views, just because it was one of those things that you are always shocked and surprised, and the pop of like who's going to come out next and all those things. So yeah. Is there anybody that you specifically would want to eliminate in the match? If you're like, okay, ring is filling up, like who are you? Who you
I want to eliminate all I want to eliminate Charlotte for obvious reasons. I want to eliminate Becky. Well, she's not going to be out there because she's already champ, but she's wrestling Dewdrop. Yes. But
Charlotte, you're going right to the top.
Comes out there though. I'm throwing her ass over the top too. So come on down. No, Charlotte for sure. I think because that was we had a little moment in the Rumble before, organically, but we've never, the whole time we were there, we never were in a match together.
That's crazy.
It's wild to think, and I just felt like it was I think too, because she was working with a lot of the legends and stuff. In that kind of space. So I just felt like, oh, this was organically going to happen eventually. And it just never did. But that's okay. I think Bianca, I'm going to throw her butt right out too, because I know that people, she's probably the number one draft pick to win.
Top dog.
So I got to get rid of her. Love her. But, competition.
That's what it's about. Yeah, you like all these people. There can
only be one winner.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And then you got to
go show friends. It's show biz.
It's show business.
That's right.
Yes.
It's my business.
Yeah, you got to remind people. You got to go out there and remind people what this is all about. Yeah. And were you surprised that it became a focal point for Hard to Kill for that match, where it was like it became part of the story? I thought it very organically became part of the story, and it was, I thought, really important to acknowledge, because it was the thing that was on fans' minds. But were you surprised that it became that sort of like, as this match is happening, let's not forget, it means even more because Mickie is
And
going to be in the Royal Rumble, and she wants to carry that title into the Royal Rumble.
Right. And I think a lot of people, I thought I was going to lose.
Yeah.
That Hard to Kill, because they thought, everybody's just mind goes in a million places. They're like, oh, she's for sure losing at Hard to Kill because now she's going to go back to WWE or whatever. And it's really kind of hooked people in for the pay-per-view because they genuinely didn't know what was going to happen, Yeah, it was cool. It was cool because it just kind of added a different edge to it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, right. I thought it was good. Do you have a favorite story or run or whatever it was, a favorite moment from your last WWE run? Or a favorite opponent, maybe? I don't know.
I loved work. Well, a thing is that I don't feel like a really Asuka. Obviously, I loved working with Asuka. Mm-hmm. I loved working with all the girls, even with Becky when I first came in and we were doing the stuff with Becky. Yeah. But I didn't have like a lot of singles kind of things because I was paired up with Alexa, and then I had the angle with Alexa with when she broke off with Nia. But a lot of the stuff was in kind of team stuff. I didn't really have a lot of single stories when I came back. I mean, I still feel like some of my favorite stories were in my first run.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And I wish that I had had a chance to do more one-on-one stuff because I think the girls are so great now and it's just a different level. And I thought there was a real opportunity to have some cool, unique matches like of things that you hadn't seen before with Bailey and Sasha and Becky and, all those girls. So, yeah. I don't know. I always say my favorite story, obviously, aside from when I finally got to turn heel at Impact and I was hardcore country heel Mickie James, which did not last very long, was obviously the Trish, because you talked about earlier, it's all about the stories and the emotion. And I think if you go back and you watch that match, it was a great match. But in today's wrestling standards of like these spots and these like little things, in their minds, it probably wasn't a 5-star match, but the emotion there, those moments that we were able to take all that time to kind of create, to like kind of bring to life in that match is what made that so memorable. So
and I also, when I look at matches like that too, from that era, like I also feel like a lot of you were kind of fighting your way through what women's wrestling had been for all those years. So it was like you were doing everything that you could to get past that and start to get into this space where you could have legitimate 5-star matches. And,
for sure.
And I feel like you can see that, especially with an opponent like Trish, who was obviously not brought into the WWE to have 5-star matches and then evolved into having matches with people like you and Jazz and Lita that are great matches.
Well, Trish is like a rare breed because it's not everyone that you're going to take from some obscurity away from wrestling. And then they're going to become a star and actually go down in history as one of the best, out there, like Trish has done, and she learned a lot of that. Most of that she was learning as she went, and on the road, but to take the time to then train with Fit prior to the shows. And even when we were doing our stuff, like we would work on so much, like just different stuffs. And we just had good chemistry, just kind of bounce off each other naturally. So it didn't feel like we were, acting the whole time. And yeah, but there's not everybody that you're going to do that with, like that's a rare breed of, there's very few people that you're just going to pluck from the NFL or from fitness or from there. Like, and then turn them into like a mega star, but with the athletic ability and the believability of kicking ass like she did. So
yeah, I never put it into context like this, but the way you describe Trish right now, it's almost like she's a female Kurt Angle.
Kind of.
In that same way that she's.
And I'm not still stalking her, I promise.
Well, I mean,
well, just on Sundays and on Instagram,
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully, who knows? Maybe she'll be a surprise in the Royal Rumble.
Ooh, yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. I'm gonna kill my pop.
Yeah, you better make sure you're out there first. Yeah.
Spoiled again.
Do you think is your announcement got fans going crazy ever since they announced you as being in the Royal Rumble? I feel like in the men's and women's Rumble matches now, the idea of the surprise entrant has gone so far off the beaten path. It's just like now everybody all of a sudden is an option. Everybody's predicting this person, that person.
For sure.
Everybody talks about this forbidden door, right? That's a thing now in wrestling. Is the forbidden door a real thing, or is that something that kind of fans just like to have fun with?
I definitely think it's a real thing in some capacity, but it's a term that has just gotten thrown around a lot, I think, in the last, because there's different relationships of company. I feel like companies have always kind of worked together. Like I know Impact had worked together with WWE in the past, and then to even like NWA and Impact or Ring of Honor and all these different promotions kind of doing it. And then it became, coined as the forbidden door. And I think it's really cool because when you look at other boxing, MMA, or these things, the idea of like these different champions from different leagues kind of facing off in these dream matches, like those are big money marquee matches. So the idea of like kind of translating that into wrestling is really, really cool. I think it's just something that hasn't been done to this magnitude, especially with WWE, which is like the standard bearer for wrestling. Like that is always has been. And you think about it, and then what better show than the Rumble, where if you win, you go to WrestleMania, which at the end of the day, that is it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is potentially like you can make all these moments, right? Like you can sit there and going like, oh, Mickey's just here for a moment, like just for the pop or whatever. But like all of a sudden, depending on what the match looks like and feels like, you get down to the final four, and all of a sudden people are going like, wait a minute, this could actually happen. Like this is a thing now. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's why that match is like, no matter what's going on in wrestling, everybody kind of stops for the Rumble.
Yeah. Anything's kind of possible. And I think that them announcing it myself, then obviously open that door of, oh crap, because there is a lot of surprises that hasn't been announced, but like, okay, well then who could possibly show up? Because this we never thought was possible before. And now this is possible. So anything's possible.
So the announcement comes down, then you main event a pay-per-view. Next, you're going to go and be in the Royal Rumble match. This is all 2022. What are you going to do in February?
I don't know.
Like,
I guess I'll have to be getting ready for Mania, after so
that's true. You'll be getting ready for Mania.
Double training 2-a-days.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to win the Royal Rumble, because otherwise it's going to be like November, and it's going to be like, hey, what'd you do this year, Mickey? And you're like, well, January was fantastic.
It was huge. You should have been there.
January was tremendous. Well, Mickey, you are the best. People, if they're not already watching, first of all, of course, you should be watching NWA. Of course, you should be watching Impact Wrestling. But also, there's another show.
Big show.
Huge show, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
About a certain type of women. Is that right?
About some grown-ass women.
That's right.
Because that's what it takes in this business. You got to be a grown-ass woman.
So where can people, first of all, who joins you on Grown Ass Women, and where can people watch?
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, you can go to golftv.com, but it's myself. It's one legend, Lisa Marie, otherwise known as Victoria Tara, and then another lovely, lovely lady, our SoCal Val.
Oh.
And it's just us talking about, we talk to our friends. We have GAMs is what we call them.
Grown ass men.
Yes, grown-ups. We have GAMs on all the time. We have Charmel on. We just had Charmel on, but we have we're almost at our 100th episode, which is crazy to think.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can find it on YouTube, and then we do our full exclusive, like the full length ones on Patreon. We have a Patreon that we do, and we also have podcast form, which is free. You can just download it for free, and it's the full episodes for free in your ear holes. So you can listen to it while you work out. It's awesome. So yeah. It's been a great year, and I just think Nick and I launched Legacy Subs last year, and it's done amazing. It's just like last year was, for our first year ever, was really, really great. So working on that, GAW TV every Wednesday, we kick butt in that. And then I'm going to be the Knockouts champion of the world for eternity. So
it's got to be very intimidating to be like your kid, because you got to succeed. Like, you come in a house of success. There's a lot of success in your house.
You're so sweet. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
the only thing he thinks about
Mhm.
is trains.
Trains. Thomas Tank
And
Engine?
well, we just got a Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
And so which I actually reached out to Austin Creed to ask him to make sure I was ordering the right thing, because I was like, what is this thing? But yeah, we just got one of those. But if it's not trains,
Yeah.
or and wooden trains, electric trains, any type of trains really, Polar Express has become the new favorite thing. I've only watched it since Christmas about 30 times. So
I just
wrestling is, he'll very rarely, but he's seen it and he's like, oh, mommy falls down, and I'm like, yeah honey, mommy falls down a lot. A lot.
A lot. Yeah, I just love the idea of, like, you're on these like pillars. Your people like have this idol worship for both of you, and then you come home and it's like, a train conductor. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah.
I love it.
We went to go see the whole train station down in Nashville where they had the turntables and all the things. He's obsessed, dude. It's crazy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, it's good. It's good. He's got passion.
He wants to be an engineer. I'm like, awesome.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble. Cool. Are we taking a train? Like, okay.
Cool. Can we take a train there?
Well, I appreciate the time. Everybody check out all the shows and, of course, the Royal Rumble. And hey, maybe we should do this again before WrestleMania, before your main event.
I know. I would love that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mickie James.
Sam, thank you so much.